I hear one word which is coming through in a lot of what you say, and that is about empowerment. You speak about empowering your employees, empowering your communities. You don't go as far as speaking as empowering your shareholders. Could you elaborate what empowerment really means for a business?
Empowerment means many things. I mean, let's forget communities for a moment, and let's just focus on the business and the people that work for us. Empowering them at the end of the day means you're giving them the ability to think that their future is with you, meaning empowering them to take decisions, empowering them in training them so that they have the tools to go out and compete, and giving them the capabilities at all times, not thinking that they're going to be with you forever, because in today's world, everybody's mobile. Everybody moves. The biggest asset that we have is our brain, and our brain moves with us wherever we go. So if you want an employee who's happy, who's going to be productive, you're going to have to make him think that he is actually being an extremely productive person inside, and he needs to see it inside the company, because he needs to see that he is making a difference. As I interview people today to come for jobs, and I interview some of the, I make it a point to interview young college grads who are just coming to be fresh working for my company. And it is amazing how aware they are, how much knowledge they have, and they are going to be interviewing you at the end of the day. They want to see if you fit for them. And that means you need to show them that their ambitions can be achieved inside the organization. And that is empowerment at the end of the day. You're basically telling them, I trust you, I will give you all the tools, I'm going to invest in you, and thus I'm empowering you. So even if you want to leave, because you can't stop anybody from leaving, you're benefiting from your years being with you, and there's nothing better than a happy employee leaving you, because that is also affecting your reputation. You might get upset about it when you lose good people, but when they leave, when they have felt that they learned something inside the organization, word of mouth affects you in return massively. And there is nothing better than recruiting people than the people that actually either worked for you or are working for you. They will tell people the good stories about you.
Yeah. How do you see the connection between empowerment and corporate responsibility or sustainability?
It's the same. Empowerment at the end of the day. These young kids, my children, my boys who are graduating very soon will challenge me and continuously challenge me today about, you're in the logistics business, what are you doing? How many cars are you using? What sort of leaded, unleaded fuel? I mean, it's like, give me a break here. So it's like you have to do so many things, let alone deliver packages on time. So they are connected. Empowerment is about feeling ownership in the community that you're in and feeling ownership in the company that you're in. I mean, if you restrict people and they have the sense that this is a place where they're not going to advance, and empowerment is about advancement at the end of the day. It's about a place where you think the sky is the limit. You're going to lose these people. You're not going to have a sustainable workforce, if you want to call it that. And so on with the community, obviously. Because if you conduct yourself properly in the community that you operate in, the feel good, and we can't put that on the balance sheet either. If the community feels good about you, it's amazing what you get in return. It's amazing. You can deliver a package a couple of days late, and they will let you go. They will let you get away with it. No, that's a joke, though. So. No, we don't use that to.
We had a discussion in an earlier session today around the importance of exactly culture in driving sustainability, and as culture is a critical factor in moving beyond the stage where sustainability is something that we talk about, but it's actually something that we live through in our actions and the way that we think about our business. You spoke a lot about values and building the right culture in the company. How do you see it's possible also for other companies to make that progression and build a culture of sustainability, if you want, responsibility?
You can't talk sustainability unless you talk values at the end of the day, because values is just like, companies are living organisms. They get affected, they grow up, they change just like individuals do. And you need to choose what sort of values you want to conduct yourself with as an organization, just as you would choose as an individual and what is acceptable for you as an individual to conduct yourself with. Why do we separate both? You know, the individual, because companies are a collection of individuals at the end of the day. You know, so we bring our values with us, whether we like it or not. I can't say I'm putting my values at home and I can be a thief in my company. It just doesn't work. No. You know, if that is not acceptable, then the other is not acceptable. And we bring all these values and we put them on the table and we live them. And there is nothing worse than to have a leader inside the organization, leader, not only the big guy, leaders, team leaders, you know, people of influence inside the company. You are being monitored all the time by your people. If you don't live what you say you want to do inside the organization, you're being watched inside, outside, all the time. It is hard work out there. So, yeah, I mean, it's the question of values and the corporate culture is a question of real important strategic influence. That's how we viewed it. And it needs to be a conscious effort, meaning corporate culture doesn't come by accident, by the way. It comes by deliberate involvement of every single person inside the organization so that they can understand it. And it is a continuous process. For us, when we decided that we needed to go through a process of identifying what is it that matters for us and how we need to conduct ourselves and what sort of corporate culture we needed to do, we actually brought in, well, not as much as maybe about 18, 19 years ago. We were still a young company there, and we brought in all the people of influence inside the organization. We had long discussions over a conference, and we said, okay, here is how we all agreed we would like to conduct ourselves. It took us 10 years to see the influence on the rest of the organization. It takes a long time. It is a tedious process, and it never stops. And it has to start with the top, and it has to continuously trickle down. It is not a decision. It's not a policy. I can't say I have a policy of doing this. I have a policy of these values. These values, they are either lived or they are not lived. The corporate culture is either there and practiced by every single individual of influence. And I differentiate between everybody is of influence, but the leaders are much more accountable than anybody else. Because if I, as a leader, am not going to be putting my money where my mouth is, if I'm not going to lead by example, forget it. Forget it. It's a joke. You can't even start talking about it.
I think one observation that one can make about how the sustainability or CR agenda has progressed is that maybe 10 years ago it was very much driven by values, whereas I think increasingly we're seeing that the agenda is being driven by value. So for instance, this year BSR conference, we have a number of workshops and sessions which all speak about the return on investment on corporate responsibility. Do you see a contradiction between what you're saying and that development?
No. I think it's fantastic that you can actually quantify and maybe monetize the return on investment on social values. I mean, that is on social returns and social responsibility. I mean, I think that is so essential because, you know, shareholders are very influential. Investors are very influential people, specifically for us living in public companies. As much as I can tell you, I will tell shareholders to go somewhere else, but I need shareholders at the end of the day. I need people to buy my stock, and I need to convince them of the story, and I need to convince them that how social returns actually affect the organization. And if there are formulas, if there are ways that you can put them and make them visible so that people can touch them and feel them and live them, then that is there is no contradiction whatsoever. How can there be? On the contrary, they go together. Values and return on values, I would say, creates value.
Yeah.